If I told you that the 21-day habit formation theory you've always believed in is completely wrong, would you believe me? Today, I'm going to use the latest scientific research to completely shatter this myth that has been circulating for decades. You see, right now, millions of people around the world are setting themselves up for failure because they're following advice that was never meant to be about habits in the first place. I know this might sound shocking, especially if you've tried the 21-day method before and wondered why it didn't work for you. Well, here's the truth. It wasn't your fault. The system was flawed from the very beginning. Let me share something personal with you. 3 years ago, I decided to start a daily meditation practice. I had read everywhere that it only takes 21 days to form a habit, so I committed myself to meditate for 21 consecutive days. Day 1 through 7 went pretty well. I was motivated, excited, and convinced I was building something lasting. But by day 15, I was struggling. By day 20, I was forcing myself through each session. And you know what happened on day 22? I stopped completely. I felt like a failure, like I lacked willpower or discipline. Sound familiar? Today, I'm going to reveal why that experience wasn't about willpower at all. In the next 20 minutes, you'll discover the real truth about habit formation, backed by actual scientific research, not marketing myths. You'll learn why 99% of people are doing habit formation completely wrong, and more importantly, you'll walk away with 5 scientifically validated strategies that actually work. Here's what we're going to cover today. First, I'll take you on a journey to uncover the shocking origin story of the 21-day myth. And trust me, it has nothing to do with habits. Then, we'll dive into the groundbreaking scientific research that reveals the real timeline for habit formation. Spoiler alert, the actual numbers will surprise you. After that, I'll share 5 evidence-based strategies that can dramatically accelerate your habit formation process. And finally, we'll explore the most common traps that keep people stuck in failed habit loops and how to avoid them completely. But before we dive in, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, what habit did you try to build using the 21-day method, and how did it turn out? I have a feeling many of you will have similar stories to mine. Let's start with the origin story of this 21-day myth, because understanding where it came from will help you see why it was doomed to fail from the beginning. The story begins in 1960 with a plastic surgeon named Dr. Maxwell Maltz. Now, Dr. Maltz wasn't studying habits at all. He was observing something completely different: how long it took his patients to adjust to their new appearance after cosmetic surgery. Dr. Maltz noticed that when he performed nose, jobs, or other facial surgeries, it typically took his patients about 21 days to get used to seeing their new face in the mirror. When he amputated a limb, patients would continue to feel phantom sensations for about 21 days before adapting to their new reality. This was a medical observation about psychological adaptation to physical changes, not about building new behaviors or habits. In 1960, Dr. Maltz published a book called Psycho-Cybernetics, where he mentioned this 21-day observation. But here's the crucial part, he said. It took a minimum of about 21 days for people to adjust to changes. Notice those key words, minimum and about. He wasn't making a definitive claim about habit formation. He was simply sharing an observation about adaptation periods. So how did this medical observation about facial surgery recovery become the gold standard for habit formation? The answer lies in how information gets distorted as it spreads. Self-help authors latched onto Dr. Maltz's observation and began simplifying it. They removed the context, ignored the word minimum, and started claiming that any habit could be formed in exactly 21 days. This oversimplification was perfect for marketing. It was a specific, manageable time frame that sounded scientific, but was actually digestible for the general public. Then came the age of social media and viral content. The 21-day rule was perfect for sharing. It fit into a tweet, looked great on an Instagram post, and gave people hope that change was just 3 weeks away. Fitness companies, productivity gurus, and lifestyle brands all jumped on the bandwagon because it was an easy sell. Who wouldn't want to believe that they were just 21 days away from transforming their life? But here's what's really fascinating and frustrating about this whole story. In all the decades that people have been promoting the 21-day rule, nobody bothered to actually test whether it was true for habit formation. It became accepted wisdom without any scientific validation whatsoever. Now let me ask you this. Where did you first hear about the 21-day rule? Was it from a fitness app, a self-help book, a motivational speaker, or maybe a social media post? Think about it, because understanding how this myth reached you is part of breaking free from its influence. Now, let's talk about what science actually tells us about habit formation. In 2009, a researcher named Dr. Philippa Lally at University College London decided to do something revolutionary. She actually studied how long it takes to form habits. I know, shocking concept, right? Actually testing a widely believed theory. Dr. Lally recruited 96 volunteers and asked them to choose one new habit they wanted to develop. These habits range from simple behaviors like drinking a glass of water after breakfast to more complex ones like running for 15 minutes before dinner or doing 50 sit-ups each morning. The participants then tracked their behavior every single day, rating how automatic the behavior felt. What Dr. Lally discovered completely shattered the 21-day myth. The time it took for behaviors to become automatic, truly habitual, ranged from 18 days all the way up to 254 days. That's right, some habits took over 8 months to fully form. The average time across all participants and all habits was 66 days, more than 3 times longer than the mythical 21 days. But here's where it gets really interesting. The study revealed that the complexity of the habit was the biggest factor in determining how long it would take to become automatic. Simple habits like drinking a glass of water took an average of 20 days to become automatic, which is actually close to Dr. Maltz's original observation. But more complex habits, like exercising for 30 minutes, took an average of 120 days to become truly automatic. Let me give you some specific examples from the research. 1. Participant wanted to develop the habit of drinking a bottle of water after lunch. This relatively simple habit became automatic after just 21 days. Another participant chose to do 50 sit-ups after morning coffee. This moderately complex habit took 68 days to become automatic. But the participant who decided to run for 15 minutes before dinner, that habit took a full 147 days to become truly automatic. The study also revealed something crucial about individual differences. Even when people were trying to develop the exact same habit, the time it took varied dramatically from person to person. Some people could make running automatic in 60 days, while others needed over 200 days. This variation depended on factors like their previous experience with exercise, their current fitness level, their motivation, their environment, and even their personality type. From a neuroscience perspective, this makes perfect sense. When you're building a new habit, you're literally creating new neural pathways in your brain. Simple behaviors require simple neural circuits that can be established relatively quickly. But complex behaviors require more sophisticated neural networks, involving multiple brain regions working in coordination. These complex networks naturally take longer to develop and strengthen. The research also showed that missing a single day didn't significantly impact the habit formation process, which debunks another common myth that you have to be perfect from day one. In fact, the participants who were most successful at forming lasting habits were those who expected occasional slip-ups and had strategies for getting back on track quickly. Now that you understand the real science behind habit formation, let's talk about how to use this knowledge to actually succeed at building the habits you want. I'm going to share 5 scientifically validated strategies that can dramatically improve your success rate and, in many cases, accelerate the habit formation process. Strategy number 1 is what I call progressive habit stacking, and it's based on the principle of starting ridiculously small. Instead of trying to meditate for 30 minutes on day 1, you start with just 2 minutes. Instead of committing to an hour-long workout, you begin with a 10-minute walk. The key is to make the initial behavior so easy that it feels almost silly not to do it. Here's why this works. When a behavior is easy, you're more likely to do it consistently. And consistency is the most important factor in habit formation. More important than intensity, more important than duration, more important than perfection. Once the small behavior becomes automatic, you can gradually increase the complexity or duration. Let me give you a real example. Sarah, one of my coaching clients, wanted to start a morning exercise routine. Instead of jumping into a 45-minute workout, we started with a commitment to put on her workout clothes every morning. That's it. No exercise required, just put on the clothes after 2 weeks. This became automatic. Then, we added a 5-minute walk around the block. After another month, she naturally started extending the walk. 6 months later, she was doing full 30-minute workouts and loving it. The key was building momentum with tiny, manageable steps. Strategy number 2 is environmental design, and this is absolutely crucial for habit success. Your environment is constantly influencing your behavior, often without you realizing it. If you want to build a new habit, you need to design your environment to make the desired behavior as easy as possible and eliminate friction wherever you can. For example, if you want to start reading more, don't just buy a book and hope for the best. Put the book on your pillow so you see it. When you go to bed, remove the TV remote from your bedroom. Put your phone in another room. Create visual reminders and remove visual distractions. If you want to eat healthier, prep your vegetables on Sunday and put them at eye level in your fridge. Hide the junk food in the back of the pantry. The goal is to reduce what psychologists call activation energy, the amount of mental and physical effort required to start the behavior. The lower the activation energy, the more likely you are to follow through, especially on days when your motivation is low. Strategy number 3 is building a social accountability system. Humans are inherently social creatures, and we're much more likely to follow through on commitments when other people are involved. This doesn't mean you need to broadcast every habit attempt on social media, but it does mean strategically involving others in your habit formation process. Find a habit partner, someone who's working on a similar goal, or who's willing to check in with you regularly. Make your commitment public in some way, whether that's telling friends and family, joining an online community, or even just posting about it on social media. The psychological pressure of public commitment can be incredibly motivating. Research shows that people who make public commitments are significantly more likely to follow through than those who keep their goals private. There's something powerful about knowing that others are watching and expecting you to succeed. Strategy number 4 is reward system optimization. This is where most people get it wrong. They either rely too heavily on external rewards, which can undermine intrinsic motivation, or they don't reward themselves at all, which makes the habit feel like constant deprivation. The key is to design a reward system that reinforces the behavior without creating dependency. Celebrate small wins immediately after completing the habit. This could be as simple as checking off a box on a habit tracker, giving yourself a mental high five, or doing a little victory dance. The reward doesn't have to be big, but it needs to be immediate and tied directly to the behavior. For larger milestones, you can use bigger rewards, but make sure they align with your overall goals. If you're building a fitness habit, don't reward yourself with junk food. Instead, buy new workout clothes or treat yourself to a massage. Strategy number 5 is what I call the failure recovery protocol. This might be the most important strategy of all, because failure is inevitable. You will miss days. You will have setbacks. The question isn't whether you'll fail, but how quickly you can recover when you do. The golden rule is this: never miss twice in a row. If you miss one day, that's life. If you miss 2 days in a row, you're breaking the habit. This rule creates a buffer that allows for real life while maintaining the momentum necessary for habit formation. When you do miss a day, don't waste energy feeling guilty or trying to make up for it. Just get back on track the next day as if nothing happened. Guilt and shame are motivation killers. Self-compassion and quick recovery are motivation builders. Now, let's talk about the most common mistakes that sabotage habit formation, because avoiding these traps is just as important as implementing the right strategies. Mistake number 1 is having unrealistic time expectations. Now that you know habits can take anywhere from 18 to 254 days to form, you can set realistic expectations. If you're working on a complex habit like daily exercise or meditation, expect it to take at least 2 to 3 months before it starts feeling automatic. This isn't a character flaw, it's normal human psychology. Mistake number 2 is the perfectionism trap. Many people believe that if they miss even one day, they've failed and need to start over. This all-or-nothing thinking is incredibly destructive. Remember, the research showed that missing occasional days didn't significantly impact habit formation, but progress, not perfection, is the goal. Mistake number 3 is motivation dependency. Motivation is great for starting habits, but it's terrible for maintaining them. Motivation fluctuates daily based on your mood, energy, levels, stress, and countless other factors. Successful habit formation depends on systems and environment design, not on feeling motivated every single day. Mistake number 4 is environment neglect. Your willpower is a limited resource, but your environment works for you 24/7. If you're trying to build a habit without optimizing your environment, you're making it unnecessarily difficult for yourself. Before we wrap up, let me share some practical tools that can support your habit formation journey. First, I recommend using a habit tracking app, but don't get obsessed with the data. The goal is awareness and consistency, not perfect tracking. Some popular options include Habitica, Streaks, or even just a simple calendar where you mark off successful days. Second, create a weekly review ritual where you assess your progress honestly. What's working? What isn't? What obstacles came up? And how can you prepare for them next week? This regular reflection helps you stay on course and make adjustments before small problems become big ones. Let's recap the key discoveries we've covered today. The 21-day habit formation rule is a complete myth based on a misinterpretation of medical observations about facial surgery recovery. The real science shows that habits take anywhere from 18 to 254 days to form, with an average of 66 days. The complexity of the habit and individual differences are the biggest factors in determining timeline. The 5 strategies that actually work are progressive, habit stacking, environmental design, social, accountability, systems, reward optimization, and failure recovery protocols. These aren't just theories, they're based on actual research about how human behavior change really works. Most importantly, remember that habit formation is a skill that you can develop. The more you understand about how it really works, the better you'll get at it. Every failed attempt in your past wasn't a character flaw, it was just a lack of accurate information about how the process actually works. Starting today, I want you to approach habit formation based on science, not on myths. Choose one habit you want to develop, Apply the strategies we've discussed and give yourself the realistic timeline that the research supports. Now, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, share the habit you're currently working on or want to start working on. Based on what we've learned today, I'll give you personalized advice on how to apply these scientific principles to your specific situation. Don't just be a passive consumer of this information. Engage with it, apply it, and become part of a community that's committed to evidence-based personal development. I'm also launching a 30-day scientific habit challenge where we'll put these principles into practice together. If you're interested in joining, let me know in the comments, and I'll share the details. Here are 2 questions I want you to think about and answer in the comments. First, which of the 5 strategies resonates most with you and why? Second, looking back at your previous failed habit attempts, which of the common mistakes do you think sabotaged your success? If this video has changed how you think about habit formation, please hit that subscribe button. We publish new videos every week, diving deep into the latest behavioral science research, and I promise you'll never get surface-level advice or recycled myths here. Everything we share is backed by peer-reviewed research and real-world testing. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it valuable. It helps more people discover evidence-based approaches to personal development instead of falling for the same old myths. And please share this video with anyone you know who's struggling with habit formation. Let's help more people understand that their past failures weren't about willpower, they were about following flawed advice. Next week, we're going to dive deep into the science of micro-habits, and I'll show you how to build a complete habit system in just 7 days, using principles from behavioral psychology. You won't want to miss it. Remember, real change doesn't happen in 21 days. It happens when you understand how change actually works and apply that knowledge consistently over time. You've got this, and now you've got the science to back you up.